You are now in the presence of a...
What's up, tribe? Welcome to our third episode of King's DNA. I am your host, Damian Myers, and I changed up something just for this topic or these two topics. Um, Typically, I would have had a guest this week, but I decided to put it on the back burner because I wanted to address something that I've been hearing circulating on social media in regards to dating. And at first, I was a little um, hesitant to walk into this subject right now, but I feel like if we're going to talk about what we're doing and how we are to grow, I feel like I would be doing us a disservice if I didn't address where it starts, and that is dating. From dating, marriage, kids, and then we're I don't want to do it the wrong way. So the two things I've been hearing floating around a lot lately is body count and a woman operating in her masculinity, right? This was kind of an easy one for me. And this is no slight at men. This is just a seed I want to plant for all of us, but specifically for the men, so that we can continue to grow in our conversations, so that we can really look at a lot of different avenues instead of sticking to one road, because that's just going to lead you to loneliness and unhappiness in the end. And that goes for the women as well. So allow me to start here. Body count. Ladies, I would implore you to walk away immediately if a man at some point, whether it's right at the start or if it is uh, soon after, a few weeks in, even a couple of months in, I would highly advise you to walk away from a man that is going to ask you about your body count. The poison in that is that will be held against you forever. If a man steps forward and says, well, that's not true, then why does it matter then? He will have a preconceived notion of who he thinks you are. Just because you may have been in, several relationships or a few, or maybe you had a period in life where you were unclear about your purpose and what you really wanted in life, and you just happened to, you were a little promiscuous. That has absolutely nothing to do with someone that you're truly interested in. So it's very important that we really veer away from people who want to know too much of our past endeavors, because that is just going to create that toxic preconceived notion. It's going to cloud his judgment. It is also going to allow in a ton of mistrust. And that's no way to start a relationship. It's unhealthy. So that's number one. The second thing about that part is, if he cannot live in that present moment with you, he'll never be present going forward. He'll always look over his shoulder at anything that was in the rear. So that means that there'll be a lack of forgiveness, a lack of overall growth, and that just can't be healthy for either one of you. So let me just get that out of the way. And then it's in regard to us men, we have to learn to really stay in our place when it comes to someone's past or history. Live in that moment and find out who she is today, and find out where she wants to go today, and what the future looks like with or without you. And then you can determine whether or not you feel like she is a good woman for you. There's nothing better than having someone that is seasoned in this world and that who has been through things, recovered, healed, and moved forward from those positions in life. And now you have someone who truly understands what it is that they want. And they can meet you in the middle and decide with you if you two will be able to move forward in a positive direction. So we both really have something to learn there. Here is, I feel, one of the most important parts of this, and that is the conversation of women being too masculine. So I want to keep this very simple when it comes to how we view each other, but most importantly in this, at the start of this part, is the masculine part in women. Now, I'm going to say most because it feels that way. But most women are out here with kids and they're not in a relationship. They're not married or they're divorced. They've been single from the start, like whatever that looks like. So without the presence of a man, they're doing everything that's required to care for the child, to make sure that they're taking care of their responsibilities. They're taking out the trash. They're going to get the car worked on. Everything that you would think a man would do in a relationship, they have to do all of it. So you have to understand that when you start dating a woman like this, it is not masculine energy. It is them being responsible and they're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, what you also have to understand is you cannot expect a woman to meet you right off the rip and then all of a sudden she hands over all the responsibilities to a man that she doesn't know how far she's going to go with. If she's not willing to hand that over, most likely in most cases, you haven't presented a space where she feels safe so that she feels comfortable handing over these things to you as you guys progress in your relationship. Then it's something that you're not doing right. And you really, really, really have to understand how much that affects a woman. And if she feels like everything that she's built and everything that she has sacrificed is not worth yet handing over to you, then you have work to do. We can't go into every situation expecting a woman to, just because she sat down with you at the first date, that she's going to be able to slip out of that position right off the top. That makes no sense at all. That's almost like you giving her your bank account information right off the rip and expecting her to take care of finances for you. You don't know her to be that comfortable. So you can't expect on a first date or in the first couple of months or weeks or whatever for a woman to take a step down and then hand something over to you or make you feel comfortable within yourself, because now she's playing a role that she hasn't been given a chance to adjust to. It has to be hard for a woman out here to do everything that she needs to do without having a man present, and then to just say, oh, this guy is handsome, or this guy is responsible, or this guy is this, that, and the other. She doesn't know enough to hand over the reins. So you have to respect the fact that she's able to handle things on her own. Respect the fact that she's not handing it over to you, because she would just hand it over to anybody if that was the case. So for us men, it requires patience. It requires active listening. It requires us to step aside from our ego and to allow her to operate. And if you truly want to be with her and she could see this and she does feel, safe, she will hand over the things that you feel like you can contribute to. Whatever that looks like based on other or prior conversations, the things that you feel like are important for you to do in relationships. But they're not going to just sit down and say, hey, I do all of these things. If you feel like you don't have a space among the things that she does currently, then you're insecure as a man. You can't simply see that she's just doing what it is that needs to be done. I mean, who else is going to do it for her? So don't mistake a woman handling her business for masculine energy. I had an experience in life where a woman told me for the first time in her life she felt like a woman in her adult life after being married, having children, dating here and there, all this stuff. She said for the first time she felt safe and she felt like a woman. And I was like, that's crazy to me. But she did everything that she needed to do in life. Her career, school, raising the children, just providing, without, after her divorce. But in all her years, she never felt safe. Crazy, yes. For the first time in her life, she said she felt like a woman. And it really depends on the energy that we put out as men to allow that safe space. And that's only truly if you have an interest or if you feel like there's potential there with the both of you. So we have a responsibility to let the ego lie where it may and for us to be vulnerable and for us not to be so sensitive when we're hearing or seeing that she or it looks like she can do without a man. When women say they don't need a man, if you feel like you are shaken by that, that means you are insecure, sir. That's not what she's saying. Women are saying that they've achieved all of the things that in the past years and decades back that men provided for the household. Women were, stay-at-home moms, but they worked jobs that didn't pay much. But now times have changed and our mentalities have to change along with that. We have to say, you know what? I get it. You don't need all of these things. You just want a man to come in lovingly. You want a partner. So maybe it's on the other end too. Maybe women need to stop saying, I don't need a man without an explanation behind that, a clear explanation. Like, hey man, I don't need you to come in and pay this and do this, whatever that looks like. Just be a little bit more detailed as to what that means. So there's a part of that communication that needs to happen as well, because everybody's not going to read it the same way. So communication is key on both sides. We as men have to ask the right question. Hey, what do you mean by that? If we don't understand, like, are you saying that I serve no purpose? And she can say, oh, no. I simply mean, I don't need you to come and pay this mortgage. I don't need you to do this, that, and the other. If we get down the road and we decide to be partners in marriage or otherwise, and we decide we're going to buy a home together, then we can start doing things where your contribution, is accepted, is it makes sense. So it's important that we communicate openly, egos, all that stuff, both of us, and we have conversations so that we have a clear understanding of what that looks like. I'm also going to play a video here in a little bit, and I want to address something that I felt was that was unhealthy, and it's just unfortunate that a lot of women feel this way about being protected. But just to stay on course, our communication is just key. If we're dating and we're out there, then that's what it is, and we just have to make sure that it is clear that no one is on a pedestal and that we're there, we're vulnerable. She's taking off her tiara or her crown or whatever. The man is taking off his crown, and we're on mutual ground. What do you want to know? Are we a good fit or are we not? And let's just be honest. And then that way we can have dinner, we can have coffee, ice cream, or whatever, have those discussions and be able to leave knowing that that person just wasn't for you and it's okay. We can't take things personal from someone we don't know. I don't need a man does not mean that she does not want a man in her life. Now, ladies, this is for you. I would encourage you to really look into what leadership really looks like. we're not born as leaders. Men aren't just naturally born as leaders. Neither are women. You have to understand that you're looking for leadership in people that aren't capable of that. So there's going to be compromise in a situation like that. Now, I see a lot of men out here on social media on these different platforms saying that they're leaders, and I can tell right from the start that they have no idea what that consists of. And leadership looks different for everyone. Now, he might say his idea of leadership might be him. It might be him just saying, "Do this, do that," and that's just it. Another guy's leadership could look like, "Hey, here are my strengths and here are my weaknesses. Is that okay with you? And if you can cover down on my weaknesses, then I think we have a good partnership in this relationship." But all leadership doesn't look the same. And then for men who need that complete control, there are women out there who are there for it. Then there are women who are on board with saying, "Hey, yeah, absolutely. Your weaknesses, I got you covered. And if you need help anywhere else, you just let me know. Don't be afraid to come to me and let me know that you bit off more than you can chew." Always keeping the human aspect to certain things. I think the most cliche thing is we're only human. So keeping that element in the relationship as well, accepting fault or failure and helping that rebuilding process. But leadership looks the same. Ladies, what type of leadership do you need? Now, it doesn't mean that when you sit down with a gentleman and you're having this discussion that you tell him what you need. You listen to him and find out what he can provide or what he's willing to provide. And then you can extend the conversation to find out if there's a match, or if you just realize that, you know what, this is just not the person for me. Because you can't cover down on the things that he can't. And for us men, it's okay. Like there are certain things I'm not good at leading in. And I know what those things are. And I'm not going to front for anybody and say, "Oh yeah, I can." No, I'm not going to get myself in trouble. I'm not doing that. It's important that we just, we man up and we just accept the things that we are just not strong at, and we just let it be known. Let's be honest, let's be transparent. It is so important that we do this. I can't begin to tell you that right communication, that proper communication, our honesty, our transparency will get us so much further. It's okay to take an L. You go on 4 or 5 dates and it's not that person. Don't even let discouragement seep in. There's a process here. There's billions of people on this planet. And you just have not sat down with the one who you feel a partnership and safety and vulnerability lie. Patience for all of us, men and women alike. Patience, communication, transparency. Just because a woman is beautiful doesn't mean she's for you. Just because a man is handsome or rich or has other things that might be important to you, it doesn't mean that he or she is that one. You would truly be able to feel it in your spirit when someone is aligned, and that you can truly have a strong partnership in all of its goodness and all of its corruption at times. When you really understand a person's intent. And you have to be honest. I can say that, there are times when we've all felt, and I felt in the past, moments of desperation in a way, and it's not an easy thing to deal with. Like, loneliness is not an easy thing to just bag up. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. but we owe it to ourselves to understand what it is exactly that we need, so that we know where we're looking and we know how we're looking, and that we can better identify when a person approaches us, whether or not they are a fit or they're not. So please take my words as not an attack on one gender or the other. This is neutral ground. There's no reason whatsoever to take up arms, because if you do, then you're exactly what I described as insecure, as, wanting to justify behavior. It's just really that simple. And it's no shots at either gender. It's just, it is what it is. And if you can't accept that, then you're going to stay on the same path that you've been on. And you'll be saying the same thing. These men or these women. No, that woman is operating with taking care of her responsibilities in life. You leave her be until you're willing to let go of your ego and place yourself in a vulnerable state. She can feel that spiritually, and she'll be happy to lay in the comforts of your arms and allow you to be the leader that you want to be. And she will be a magnificent support. But it's up to you in that situation. And then, ladies, for you again, leadership. What does leadership look like to you? What does that look like? Where is compromise? What does compromise look like for you? I hear too much of. I had a group conversation recently, and the women were saying, well, I don't want to always plan. I don't want, and I said, well, what if he's not a good planner, but he's good or great at all these other things? Is that not worth the compromise? And they were like, yeah, it is. And I said, well, what type of leadership are you looking for then? Let's be specific. And they all agree, like, damn, I never thought about the leadership aspect of it. Like, what does that look like? Exactly. Find out what type of leadership you require in your life. Men, find out and identify what type of support you need and where you're comfortable allowing her to lead without your ego being attacked. So it's a simple solution to all of these things. We just have to take a step back and truly evaluate without being so defensive. You can't listen with a defensive ear. A defensive ear will never seek out or allow a solution. Never, ever. Hear a person out. And if you're not capable of doing that, sir or ma'am, you're not healed. You have more work to do. And I would suggest you get to it so that you can be blessed with the partner that your heart desires. Now, lastly, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you watch this video, and then I'm going to come back and give my thoughts, and then we'll wrap this up.
What did black women do to black men that was so bad? What did we do historically that was so bad to where in current present day, y'all seem to be enjoying the violence we receive? Y'all seem to take enjoyment in the lack of protection that we have with y'all. What did we do?
Okay, so that video, I have to say, when it was sent to me, I was a little upset about it. But I understood exactly where that young lady was coming from. And my heart truly went out to her because her past experiences, whether it was experienced personally or just some things that she's seen on social media, she spoke from a broken and a place of hurt. And so that's where my heart went out to her. But what I will say is her messaging was dangerous, in my opinion. Okay, so first and foremost, I would say this. I mean, this is for any of us. So I'm going to refer to the young lady who was hit with the brick. And I've heard conflicting stories about it or whatnot, whether it was true or not. But let's say that is true. Okay. I remember seeing that video and I was like, man, that was really messed up. But I pay attention to detail. And the first thing that I noticed was the men or the boys who were in the background, they didn't really look like the protective type, to be honest with you. Now, I am going to, I'm not saying that every man that wears a fedora or every man that, has a clean haircut and all this other stuff are the men who would have helped in that situation. And I'm also not saying that do-rags and pan sagging means that they're not going to. But what stood out to me was, what type of establishment were you at? Where were you? If you're in downtown LA, if you're in a certain neighborhood in Inglewood or Compton or the Bronx or whatever, New Orleans, like, they're just places that we already know that we don't want to operate in, because there are chances that if I go to a club in Compton, if I go there enough, I'm going to be in the middle of something at some point. Or at least there'll be a shooting afterward, whether someone gets injured or not, or, people are drinking, and that's just not the environment that I want to find myself in. Because I'm, number one, I want to lessen the percentage. I want to lessen the chance that something will happen. So I'm not going to go there. Number two, I have a daughter. So I have a duty to get back to her and to not, I don't want to compromise myself. I don't want to take the chance and say, I'm going to take this chance, I'm going to go over here, and that, this, that, or the other may or may not happen. Like, I'm taking a risk. We take a risk everywhere we go, but lowering the chance, that's the most important part of that. So when I saw the gentlemen that were in the background, I was thinking, baby, that's probably not where you should have gone. That upped that percentage. Now, there's absolutely no reason that she should have been hit with anything, hand, brick. Like, that's disgusting. That is disgusting. And that angered me more than anything else. But I was like, what is the lesson here for me? What would I tell my daughter? Mommy, avoid these places. I want to show her what that scale looks like. What do you think will happen if you go to this neighborhood or that neighborhood wearing this, that, or the other? What do you think will happen if you go to this club versus maybe a lounge where it's, people are a little bit more mature and they're there for a good time and they also want to get home with no conflict? So that was one of the things that I looked at. But now what was disheartening to me was that she put a blanket over on all black men, saying, like, when are we going to, and it's, no, baby, it doesn't work like that, because we're out here. The good men are out here. You put yourself with wolves, you're going to get torn apart. And that's how it goes. And again, it's unfortunate, and I think it's disgusting, and I think it's cowardly for any man to not be able to take rejection, no matter how it's given. Whether a woman is rude, whether, hey, walk away. That's not a situation that you want. That should tell you right then and there that that's not who you want to be with. So walk away. But I would say equally, I'm not going to go across town to a place where I know that there's a good chance or a better chance or a heightened chance that there can be conflict or there can be something that I'm not comfortable with. And I'm also not saying that if she would have been at a better establishment, that it's guaranteed that nothing would have happened. But we really do have to be smart. We have to use wisdom when we're walking out here in these streets, man. It's not safe. So just understand that part of it. We are out here. I can't walk out here and say, hey, every woman is trash. And a woman says, oh, every man is this. No, we're not. We are protectors. We are lovers. We are faithful. We are strong. We are leaders. You have to establish the patience to find that, and vice versa. Men, if you want a woman that is virtuous and that is, mature and loving and kind and all of the things that you feel like you need to continue to be nourished in life, you need to be patient and pick wisely and pursue wisely. So that part of that video was just really hurtful for me to hear, that she is putting all of us under one umbrella, and we should never be. It is the men that you've encountered. It is the women that you've encountered that did you this way. You pursue this type of woman, you're going to continue to get those same results. You keep allowing this type of man in your life, you're going to get the same results. And that's how that works. Look deep into yourself and find out what changes you need to make and what type of individual you desire, and just expect what you get. You keep choosing a certain type of man, all right, accept accountability for that. Men, if you're after the women that you just that aren't good for you, accept accountability if something goes wrong. But we should not be pointing the finger at each other as a collective. Take accountability for your choices. And you'll find that the scope of your view will broaden. Because once you do that, you'll realize that's the one I don't need to go after. That's the type. Nope. That's the type of man I don't need. Nope. And I need to change that up. Because I've been to 2 or 3 of them and nothing has changed. So I hope that I'm clear about everything. And I hope that there are no misunderstandings as to what my stance is. We have to protect us first. Now, lastly, what I will say about that situation, and this is important too, we have to understand that we as men, we also have to be careful about what we do and what we involve ourselves into. Quick story. A buddy of mine decides to help a friend of his. Boyfriend beat her up. There's blood. He picks her up and gets her out of there. I'm not sure if I don't think the boyfriend was there. I think he left. But he found out that her rescuer was this individual. Now, 2 things happened after that. The first thing that happened was there was beef right out the gate. Now it's like, oh, you picked up my girl. Okay, got it. The second thing that happened was she went right back to that guy. And the one thing that did not change is the beef is still there. So it's like, we have to be careful. I have to be careful because I cannot intervene in every single thing. Now, what I will do is I will help. But I have to be very mindful of where I am and how I'm going to intervene. Because no one else is going to take care of my daughter if I make a decision that could cost me my life. So there has to be a fairness in that situation. If I'm in a place or even driving by a place and there's a confrontation or something going on, I can't just stop and just involve myself in something that I know nothing about. The dangers of that are endless. I don't know if that gentleman has homeboys in the parking lot that got guns, or I mean, there's so many different levels to this. And I can lose my life for getting myself involved in something that I don't know. Now, I will tell you a personal story, and I will end it here. I went to the grocery store, and I was probably the 4th person in line, and there was this really kind white woman that was checking out, and the cashier had, kind words and, wished her a good day and all that good stuff. An older black woman was behind her, and when she stepped up, I saw the energy shift immediately with the cashier. I was very uncomfortable, and so was everyone else in line, because you can hear the chatter and you can kind of see people kind of like, dang, that's messed up, because he was being completely rude to her, especially when she was asking about, like, a coupon or this was that price. I wouldn't have thought too much of it if I didn't see his energy shift when she walked up. So at some point, I got irritated, and I left my stuff on in my basket. I walked up and I addressed that situation. Now, I won't tell you the word. I won't get into details about what I said to him, but I let him know that he's not going to talk to that black woman like that. And I did say black woman in that sentence, in that demand. And then the manager immediately came over, and the manager's, he knows me because I come in there often. And he asked me what was wrong, and I told him. And then the manager was like, I'm sorry, and all that good stuff. And he began to bag the lady's stuff. And I said, no, I don't want you to bag anything. I want him to bag it. Finish ringing her up and you bag it. And I don't want to hear another word. You have nothing else to say to anyone. He looked at the manager. The manager just took a step back and kind of like did like that. And he bagged up that stuff. He put it in her grocery basket. I paid for her groceries. And I told her to have a good day. And her eyes were full of tears. And she walked off and she smiled. I got back in line. And when I got up there, he had a whole reset. Hey, sir, I want to apologize. I said, well, no, you didn't even apologize to her, but it wasn't necessary. But you need to be mindful of how you treat people. And I said, I'm not calling you a racist. I said, but it felt racist. And he tried to, I'm not, I promise. Okay, whatever it was. But you don't treat my black women like that. You're not going to treat my mother like that or my daughter like that. So we are out here. We just have to be more patient and thorough and honest with ourselves about what we truly want and what it takes to get there. We have to, or we're going to be in this vicious cycle of finger pointing and placing the blame on people that have nothing to do with your traumas and your triggers. So look, man, I hope this was good. I hope this was informative. I hope this touched you in the right places for you to be able to go out there and have a better understanding of what it is to be in the dating world, to identify what it is that you love, you don't love, what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable, learning how to look at a woman and understand that she's not operating in her masculinity. She is simply handling her business. And women, understand what leadership looks like and find out his strengths in leadership. And ask yourself if you can cover down on the things that he is not capable of or that he's just weak in. And you'll get a lot further. All of us will get a lot further. Well, until next week, I appreciate y'all joining me. I appreciate those who have subscribed. So on this, please click subscribe and hit that little bell so that every single time that I post something, whether it's shorts, whether it's the episodes, that you'll get alerted so that you can check it out. I would really appreciate all of your kind words and just feedback, creatively and just on the things that I've spoken about so far. I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I look forward to continuing down this path of growth and prosperity within our community. All right. Y'all take care. Peace.
You are now in the presence of a king.